Welcome and congratulations on your purchase of a Whitfield pellet stove. We are very proud of the stoves we build and consider them to be the best designed and best manufactured pellet stoves in the world. It is the purpose of this video presentation to familiarize you with the operation and maintenance concepts of your Advantage II-T Classic pellet stove. Your Advantage II-T Classic model is a highly efficient and well-engineered product. It will be necessary for you to learn the basics of operation and maintenance in order to realize the capabilities built into your stove. This is especially true in the first few days as you learn to fine-tune your stove's operation. This program has been prepared to help you through this period, as well as to provide a visual guide through some other operation and maintenance procedures. It is, however, only a guide, and we strongly encourage your study of safety and proper operation. We also highly recommend professional installation by your authorized Whitfield dealer. In the operation and maintenance portion of the film, we will look at the following sections: startup, to include fuel and lighting your stove; operation, fine-tuning, cleaning, and yearly routine maintenance. Let's begin with starting up your new stove and a brief talk about fuel. It is important that you make certain you have suitable pellets. Please note that fuel pellets may vary in size and composition, giving different burn rates. We will talk more about fuel later, and for now finish by saying that fuel should always be stored in a dry area. Before lighting your stove for the first time, remove the protective film from brass body trim. You'll need to remove all contents from the hopper. Check the burn grate for proper seating. And pour fuel pellets into the hopper. Avoid including excessive fines, the sawdust, at the bottom of the container, as these may affect proper operation. To prime your stove, depress the start button and press the auger on-off button. This activates the auger motor and begins to fill the auger with pellets. Set the heat output selector to indicator position 5. Once pellets begin to fall into the burn grate, approximately 5 to 10 minutes, press the auger on-off button to turn the auger off. Your stove has a standard self-igniter. Making sure the auger is primed, simply push the start button to activate the igniter, and press the auger on-off button to activate the auger. While the pellets will ignite on any heat output setting, it is recommended that the heat output selector be set to position number 3 or 4. Pellets will start feeding into the grate and should begin to ignite within 3 to 7 minutes. The self-igniter will automatically shut off after 15 minutes. You may note a strong odor as the stove cures during this first burn, and it is best to allow for proper room ventilation at this time. In this section, we'll look closer at some of your operating controls. The heat output selector button controls the amount of fuel reaching the burn grate, and therefore the amount of heat your stove will produce. Adjusting the heat output selector also automatically regulates the amount of air reaching the fire, so that the fuel-to-air mixture is always exactly correct. The blower speed selector button controls the amount of heated air reaching your room. The stove is regulated through the adjustment of these controls to provide the desired amount of home heating. When burning in the number 5 maximum heat output position, you should set the blower speed also to its highest position in order to convect the maximum amount of heated air out of the stove. Failure to do so will tend to overheat the stove and activate the automatic shutdown system. When operating with the wall thermostat, you will realize the most efficient operation when selecting heat output positions 2 through 4. The stove will operate at the heat setting which you have chosen, and when the room reaches the desired temperature, the stove will automatically drop down to a pilot setting, where a low flame keeps the stove warm and ready to respond instantly when the thermostat calls for heat. The stove can be turned off by simply moving the on-off button. This will cause the auger to stop feeding fuel, and after the remaining pellets have been burned, the fire will go out. The blowers will continue to operate until the stove cools down sufficiently. In the event of a power outage, your stove will shut itself safely down and can be restarted following normal procedures. Pellets can differ significantly in length, size, and quality, even within the same band, as the source of waste wood changes. And all of these factors can affect the pellet's burning characteristics. The key to optimum pellet stove performance is the proper mixing of fuel and air, and the damper is the homeowner's tool for fine-tuning this flow of air to the fire. The damper rod of the Advantage II-T Classic insert is located behind the left side shroud handle. This simple task of adjusting the damper is accomplished by loosening the collar set screw on the damper rod and pushing or pulling the rod in or out as required to achieve the proper flame, and then retightening the set screw with the collar touching the stove. The proper setting will vary from stove to stove due to installation, altitude, and types of fuel being used. Once the damper has been properly set for a particular type of fuel, it should not need to be reset unless a significantly different type of fuel is used. You may expect an 80-pound hopper of pellets to typically last between 20 and 80 hours, depending upon the heat output rate selected and the characteristics of the fuel being burned. A proper flame is a bright yellow with no soot formation at the top of the flame. If the flame is a lazy, smoky red-orange color with soot at the top, or pellets build up in the grate, or the window becomes dirty, the fire needs more combustion air. Pull the damper out for more air until the flame begins to dance and becomes a bright yellow. If in the position 1 minimum fuel feed setting, your stove will not stay lit. The particular pellet you are using may not be feeding fast enough to keep the fire going, and you will need to push the damper approximately 1/4 of an inch further in for less combustion air. If you are unable to achieve the proper flame through damper adjustment, refer to your manual for instruction on the adjustment of the combustion fan trim control and the auger trim control. A smoky red-orange flame can also mean your stove is in need of cleaning, because ash deposits may be starting to block some of the exhaust passages. Cleaning is done on an as-needed basis because of the different types of fuels used and varying times of operation for each individual stove. The areas to be inspected include the burn grate, the heat exchanger tubes, and the ash pan. It is very important to note that your stove should be disconnected from the power source and sufficiently cooled prior to cleaning. The burn grate should be inspected periodically to assure that the air holes or slots have not become clogged with ash or hardened ash deposits called clinkers. The burn grate can easily be cleaned with the grate scraper ash pan tool, or it can be removed for cleaning. Ash around the grate may be deposited into the ash pan at this time by simply pulling the 3 ash release slide plates over. It is very important to keep the ash air from reaching the fire. The burn grate may now be replaced. Make sure to fully close the plates when finished, as failure to do so may result in insufficient combustion, causing pellets to pile up in the grate. It is good practice to pull the scraper rod periodically to remove any ash or clinkers which may have accumulated on the heat exchanger tubes. The ash pan will need to be checked periodically and emptied when full. Locate the draw latch and turn it counterclockwise. Remove the pan and dump the contents into a non-combustible container. This should be done after approximately 50 to 100 bags of fuel have been burned, depending upon the quality of the fuel. The job is finished by sliding the pan back into the stove and turning the latch clockwise. There are 2 ash pans on the Advantage II-T Classic insert model, one located around the grate and the other located below the glass door. The windows may be cleaned with a damp cloth at this time, when the blowers are off and the stove is cool. This is also a good opportunity to check your air wash opening for obstructions using a thin piece of cardboard. If you have purchased an optional oak or driftwood style log set, cleaning can be accomplished by simply using a soft bristle brush once the logs have cooled sufficiently. In addition to as-needed cleaning, your stove will require certain routine inspections. All venting should be inspected at least once a year for possible leakage and accumulation of ash. Ash buildup in the exhaust vents will prevent proper airflow through the stove. The condition of the rope gasket around the door and windows should be checked periodically, and the gasket repaired or replaced as necessary. The door seal is inspected by closing the door on a strip of paper. The paper should meet slight resistance when withdrawn. This procedure should be repeated in several locations around the door. At the end of the burning season, it is a good idea to remove the unused pellets from the hopper, as they may deteriorate over time and impair the future performance of your stove. This program has been created for you, the owner of a new Whitfield pellet stove. It has been our intention to familiarize you with the operation and maintenance aspects of your Whitfield stove. There may seem to be many things to learn, but you will see that you soon come to know and understand your stove as it becomes a member of your family. And these routine procedures will become commonplace. We invite you to return to this program for guidance and remind you that your manual holds most of the answers to your questions. And please remember that your dealer represents us and is there to support you if you need further assistance. Thank you again, and we hope you enjoy your Whitfield pellet stove.